Hello everyone, and welcome back to my tutorial campaign series in Realistic Progression 0, the campaign mod for the Realism Overhaul suite of mods for Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we found we needed a bigger booster. So we ended up creating something that could get about 3.6 or so tons into orbit, or could push a fairly heavy transfer stage. Which is enough to get this thing on TLI with the moon. So last time we sent one of these that had a micrometeorite detector here. This time we're going to exchange it for a barometer. And let's go back and action group this thing. And we already have Lunex 2 being built, so this thing will be Lunex 3. And let's toggle RCS build aid. Now we have our big old launcher as a subassembly. Catapult 3-stage. So let's zoom out and add it on and make the fairing not there we go, make the not poke through the fairing. Now let's get this above ground. Okay, and we'll go ahead and build this. Now the other thing that we can do to get much needed science is we can put a film camera in orbit around the Earth and return film from it. Looks like it's a scatterer bug. That's disconcerting. Let's hop in the tracking station, hop out again. Hopefully that should fix it. And meanwhile, while we're here, we can look at all the pretty satellites we put in orbit. Echo 1 through 4, Warbler 1 through 4, and Lunex 1. So let's hop out again. And it is only July 10th, 1954. Only about 3.5 years into the campaign. That's pretty fast for playing on hard mode. So let's look at tech. Oh, so we've got survivability. Excellent. All right. So, and we've got a lot of science too from the last mission. So let's go ahead and unlock some nodes. So we know we've got that researching. We know we've got this researching. So now we have some options. We can pay an awful lot of science and get the next level of rocket engines. We can pay half that and get some awesome Soviet engines. Like these NK9s, like the S-150-400, which is a reignitable upper stage engine. And it's just Kerolox is so much cheaper than Hydrolox that I think that's probably worth doing. We're definitely going to want improved instrumentation because it's the way that we actually can go visit other planets. We'll need an actually good dish. We also get some better solar panels because boy do we have crappy solar panels right now, and we get the Ranger Block 1 probe core, which is rather better than the early controllable core that we have right now. There we go. Now it's got the menu up. That was weird. Avionics, up to 300 kilograms. And when disabled, it uses less wattage than the early controllable core. It does, however, mass 30 kilos more. So we only net, what is that, 70 kilos extra. but that will be enough that we can send off some early interplanetary probes. So we're definitely going to want this at some point. We're definitely going to want this. We're definitely going to want this. Given that we've not exhausted our science yet, I'm going to continue my practice of getting engines first, and we'll get the cheap engine node first because it actually gives us a lot of good options. We'll want this as well eventually because it'll let us upgrade our lower stage engines, unless we just convert to using masses of NK9s. Although I'm not sure there are test flight configs for the NK9. It was not a terrifically reliable engine. So we'll go ahead and get that, and we'll go ahead and get this, because let me just check one thing here. Yeah, so 63 kilonewtons. So yeah, we could definitely use that as a third stage on our existing launch vehicle, and that would send things interplanetary. So let's go ahead and get this. And then once we get more science from the moon and from around the Earth with the film camera, then we can go ahead and unlock rocketry. All right, now let's pick up some contracts. We definitely want to achieve geostationary orbit at some point, but we can do that with the. We'll need to redesign our. Will we? No, because we can use a kilometer per second burn from the Able Star stage, and we don't need to burn so much at apogee. So yeah, we'll design something for that later, but we'll put an antenna on it so it actually does better work. Right, we still have this lunar orbit uncrewed contract that we didn't get last time, which annoyed me greatly. All right, let's kill this and try to get more of those great lunar contracts. Come on. How many did we do? I think we can do more than whatever it was. Let's look down at the bottom. Oh, that's interesting. We failed a contract. I didn't notice that. 3 times. That's what I thought. And we've only... Oh, have we impacted 3 times? Let's see. Lunar flyby. Okay, so we've done the lunar flyby contracts. Lunar impactor. There's 1. There's 2. So I think we can do 1 more lunar impactor contract. Come on. Oh, I think, oh, right, it was, yeah, let's kill one of these. There we are. All right. Now, it's generally bad practice to play contract slot machines, but given that the way the milestone contracts are supposed to work is that they're always supposed to be available, I don't really feel bad making them available like that, because the whole point of them is that they should always be available. So let's, oh, I always do this. All right, so that is a large number of days until that is ready. So we're going to have to spend some money and speed it up a little. 2, 3, 4. But let's check our sounding rock because we might still not make this. 10/3/1954, 9/28/1954. It is right now. We said it was July 10th, wasn't it? Be nice if the date showed up there. Yeah, July 10th. All right, so we've got time. So I don't think I need to rush by that anymore. We've now got 2 upgrades to spend because we got all that, 2 more nodes. So let's add a bit more there. And let's buy a few more upgrades. And we finally passed over into the science per day instead of science per year. How much would this cost? 200,000. That would let us have 2 build rates. Gotta tell you, that's kind of tempting. However, we also really need to start upgrading the astronaut complex, because pretty soon we're going to start launching astronauts into space. So I think we better start that upgrading. And we're also going to have to start saving up for this, because pretty soon we're going to start hitting that limit. In fact, some tech nodes, I think, on the next tier. No, the tier after that. But it's a close tier after that. So yeah, we've got to start saving up money for that. But the most important thing about this, it doesn't say it here because of course it's a mod, but once you upgrade it once, then you get 2 build rates. And the nice thing about having a second build rate is that you pay basically half the point cost. So 1 upgrade gives you 0.05 build points per second in build rate 1. It gives you 0.1 build points per second in rate 2. So that's a thing that is very useful. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and we can warp until this is ready. Hope we don't have a failure. And launch it towards the moon. Roll it out. Warp until it's rolled out. And go ahead and launch it. Now I have to remember what turn settings I used for this. Oh, it was in the craft description, wasn't it? And so yeah, I'll look up what I said in the craft description, because of course these settings are not craft specific, and I've been playing around with another launch vehicle. So yeah. So let's figure out what I used last time. 100, 120, 40. And pitch up a little bit. Okay. 100, 120, and let's set this something safe. 40. Now, let's go find the moon. Oh, isn't that nice? We're actually going to almost have a direct that was an interesting freeze. We're almost going to have a direct launch into TLI. Launch into plane of target. That's acceptable. 5 hours. Engage the autopilot. Right. Hey, look, a day launch. Now, it is somewhat tempting to consider a 4-engine variant of this launch vehicle, because as you can see, it's got most of its delta V in the second stage here. And I'm going to turn that sound down a little bit because at some point it got a bit loud. Come on. There we go. Okay. Because as you can see, most of the delta V was up here. So this first stage is really a bit underpowered for what we're asking of it. With a 4-engine first stage, we could probably get 4 or more tons into orbit, or less than 4 tons into, say, a polar orbit. And if memory serves, actually the last time I did this campaign, that's more or less exactly what I did. I did the 3-engine LR-105 upper version of this, and then I said, you know, it's just not enough. So, I don't know. I'm not going to do the turn to the south this time because if memory served last time, I didn't actually gain much from it. And we're just going to set it to like that for now. Yeah, so a 4-engine lower stage would make it cost maybe another $1 million or so. Not that bad. When the whole thing was already like what, $5-7 million, and is definitely, I think, something we'll want to consider when we get that S150-400, and we'll want a heavier final stage. Now, ideally, we would be sticking around with this long enough that we could unlock the first generation of H1, which has an awful lot more thrust, and then we'd really only need the 3. It turns out having 3 H1s is about the same as 4 of these early LR-79s. So, going okay so far. All looks fairly decent to me. No failures or anything. This is slowly decreasing as we're moving southward, but also lowering our inclination because we're slightly to the north of our... And we might as well switch over to orbit now because why not? Yeah, coming up on Miko. And we have Miko, separation, ignition. Okay, and it looks like we cleared enough the atmosphere that it pitched us down. Now, if memory serves, we want to be more or less aligned with prograde. Yeah, pitch up a bit during second stage burn. That's what my note said. That seems like the thing to do. Okay, passing the Kármán line with ditch and fairings. Now, one thing I've noticed while I'm thinking about putting a fourth engine down there, another way to get added performance is to add some strap-on boosters. I mean, we are unlocking basic solids at the moment, and it'd kind of be silly not to use them. Oh, let's pitch up a bit more. The issue there is twofold. One is that because right now RP-0 models only equipment costs, not launch costs, Hydrolox costs comparatively more, and solids cost comparatively less. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. Both. Yeah. So solids cost about the right amount per item. Okay, yeah, we've flown a much lower ascent than I would have liked. So we're going to have to... Thankfully, we have excess capacity in this launch vehicle, so we can pitch up a bit more. Right, so solids cost about right. The issue is that most of the cost associated with the launch is actually like the integration cost and the costs of the range and all the other stuff, not just the equipment costs. So since solids decrease those costs a lot compared to liquids, where you really get the cost savings is there, which we don't at the moment model in RP-0, which is kind of a shame. So in RP-0, as things stand, liquid boosters tend to outperform solids in terms of cost effectiveness because you get much more performance for not much more cost. All right, now we're raising our... Yeah, we're building up steering losses and how, but that's okay. Hydrolox has a similar issue there. Because we're modeling the costs of the equipment, it's much more expensive. In fact, I think possibly more expensive than it should be. We're going to revisit that. But it doesn't cost much more to actually integrate, although it does cost somewhat more, than regular, like lightly cryogenic stuff like Keralox or Hypergolics, which have their own issues. So again, you're penalized a bit. So right now, if you fly a Soviet-style career, you'll end up with much cheaper equipment, not only because just the equipment itself is cheaper, but also because of those issues I was just talking about. And because I was busy talking about all that, I didn't end up aligning our planes very well, so we're going to have to kill... We're going to have to aim south quite a bit. Let's lower that on down. We'll get about 0.25 probably. And burnout. Come on. There we go. And stage. And we're fairly close to orbit, about 400 meters per second needed. And we're gonna have to pitch down. Because, yeah, this is, once again, not an optimal ascent because I'm too busy talking and not paying attention to what I should actually be doing. Note, even though we're pitched down quite a bit, time to apogee is still rising quite fast. Alright, that appears to be about as good as it gets. Oh, right, this, as usual. Alright, so this is going to be a pretty poor orbit. But despite it being 327 by 151, its eccentricity is only 0.013, so that's okay. And we still have plenty of delta V. In fact, I'm vaguely tempted to find this out. Let's see just how much it would take to match planes. It would take only 41 meters per second to match planes with the moon. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of tempting. And it's only 19 minutes away. When would be our transfer? Let's find out. Home and transfer. 13 minutes. Ugh. Well, I think we go for the transfer first, and you know, that'll be okay. So what do we want? We want a vaguely polar orbit. What is that? Lunar periselene. All right, you know what? That's fine. Oh, and that's convenient. We're actually almost aligned with the transfer node. Okay. And let's extend the antenna, fire the ullage thrusters, lower the gimbal limit. All right. Yeah, because we're actually in a fairly energetic orbit. It was only 3131 instead of 3160 or 3180. So off we go. And I'm going to not fire the retro thrusters in the hope that this will impact the moon. So about halfway through the burn, probably 2/3 through the time of the burn. Okay, 1 kilometer per second left. Yeah, that is interestingly an argument for building spare capacity into your launch vehicle, because if you screw up your ascent, you gain a heck of a lot of steering losses. You don't get lower than 0.31 degrees relative inclination, and we're still fine. Okay, almost done with the burn. Okay, and no, MechJeb, you really don't have to do that finishing up. Although I guess MechJeb is sometimes... Yeah, MechJeb is not exactly house trained for realism overhaul. Okay. Let's look at what our actual... Alright, so we overcorrected, so now we'll swing by and correct down this way again. Alright, now we can separate. Come on. Here we go. Okay, we've separated, and I guess I might as well go... Are we still on a collision course? We should be. Yeah, we are. Okay, I don't have to worry about renaming that stage because it's going to be dead. So now that we're... That's interesting. Why is the vessel mass 223 kilos when in the VAB it was 200? That intrigues me. I'm really not sure. Okay, well that's actually kind of a problem because alright, so something there must have been some issue with oh I have KOS installed this time and I didn't before. So KOS added. Alright, well I'm gonna have to ugh. Well, we can do it this way. We'll just decrease the propellant on here some. Which I mean, it's cheating in one way, but it's... still over 200. Alright. Well, that's... let's see. What are we doing here? 495. Alright, so... Nope, still over by a hair. Still over. Come on. 84. And... All right. That will have to do. Okay. So now that we've made this saner again, it said unlocking controls. Why is it? Oh, heh, heh. It lied. Let's get a little bit lower now. $199. Now it should be fine with this. Yep, okay. And now we need to burn a little bit retrograde such that we don't quite go through the moon. We are burning, aren't we? It's interesting. Oh, tanks are still locked. Right. Let's unlock the tanks. That would be intelligent. All right. Okay. Okay. That will do. And come on, let me click on the solar panels. There we go. Direct sunlight, and we're getting 0.0 watts. That's not actually going to be helpful, is it? 12.2 watts. All right, that's enough. We don't actually have to do anything else. All right, so now we just have to get to the moon. That's easy enough. Warp here. Okay. Now, the tragic part is that, let's add a maneuver here, just so, oh, I guess actually we can just warp to, not warp to, but we can just add a periapsis node. Periapsis, we want 1 minute before periapsis, and we want to swap to this, because given that we're no longer going to have enough propellant in that little tiny kick stage to actually finish our retro burn, we're going to have to use this to impact the moon, like last time. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh dang! I was going to put this in polar orbit. Well, conveniently, given that we don't have such a long burn on that kick stage anymore, we may be able to just do that ourselves. All right, let's go ahead and make this impact. 12 kilometers. And about to have an earth-shattering kaboom, or in this case, a moon-shattering kaboom. Yep. And for some reason, I am chugging badly. Oh well. Yep, that's acceptable. Jump to ship. Okay. And we're over a new biome, so let's transmit that. And we want to change apoapsis to something like 50,000 kilometers at the next periapsis. That is well outside. Oh, that's well inside the lunar sphere of influence, actually. All right, so, and that's a really cheap insertion burn. Only 136 meters per second. It's because we have such a low periselene. So we're getting the maximum gravity assist from the moon because we're coming in prograde to the moon's rotation. So if we were coming in on your regular free return trajectory this way, we'd have to, it would cost a lot more. No, I mean, not a lot more, but enough. All right, so we're going to warp until we're fairly near. Okay, 30 seconds is enough time. Let's reorient retro. Okay, and ullage that, and stage. Come on. Yeah, I've had KSP running for a while, so it's chugged kind of badly. All right, so that is going to make any kind of plane change rather expensive, I think. Let's find out. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll let this one flip in and out between low and... Have we already got everything from the lunar seas? Yes. All right. Lowlands. We got everything from the lowlands. We have. And we're probably going to lose signal at some point. Major craters. We have not yet done the major craters. Okay, so we'll transmit that back. Are we bouncing signal off something else? Nope, we're just conveniently aligned just so. Okay. And our inclination is enough that we'll go over some of these lunar biomes. But we'll make sure to put the next thing into a polar orbit. We're now in space high, so we can do the orbital perturbation experiment in space high. Space high over the lowlands. Send that back too. And we're steadily gaining science. How much science have we gained? Let's see. We're up to 41 science. That's pretty nice. And we've got a bunch of contracts. Okay. And nothing failed this launch other than my piloting and my remembering to do a plane change halfway out. But that's okay. We still, I mean, this mission is still a roaring success. Space high over the Midlands. We've already done that. Back to the lowlands, Midlands. Interesting that I say lowlands, but Midlands. Not really sure why that my accent is doing that. Yeah, and I'd also say highlands rather than highlands, but lowlands, I'll say it long. Okie doke. It's a whole lot of midlands on the moon. Now, if memory serves, somewhere around here is the Farside Basin. That's 38 minutes, so let's set that up. 38M, and we want Action Group 4. All right. So let's warp it on out. I'm probably wrong. It's probably over like here somewhere. Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna be wrong. And it will just give us some more Midland science. Oh well. Somehow my life will continue. Recycle that. Let's see where we get something interesting. Well, we had Highlands for a sec. All right, so we want this position, and this position is 4 hours, 12 minutes, 49 seconds. Ugh, except we don't have a signal, so we can't actually enqueue it then. We want the absolute, so what is it? We're at 6:36, and we want 4 hours, 12. So 10 hours, 48. So we'll want to do a sample. That was interesting. Apparently I have throttle, which I should have no signal. Not sure why Remote Tech is not actually blocking the throttle. It's always something. Was that... No, that was just... No, that was just Highlands, and we've already got Highlands. Sorry, I thought I'm confused. Major craters. Do we have that? I think we have that already, but let's check. Yeah, we do. Okay. So where's the Farside Basin? I think it's down here. So it'll be a while before we're down below the equator on the far side. Highlands. More highlands, lunar seas, midlands. Yeah, not a lot of good stuff. Space high over the lunar seas, I'm pretty sure we got that already. Okay. And let's try, see if we get anything different space low this time, which we probably won't, because I think we got it all on the first time. Space just above the lunar seas. Yes. Okay, so that about taps this probe out. The only other thing we can do is to circularize, which I think we might as well do. Circularize, add the next periapsis, create node. 300 plus meters per second. So I think it's probably going to be about a 6-minute burn, maybe a little less. So let's start burning about -3 minutes. Okay. Oh, did I never actually decouple that thing? Apparently not. That was hilarious. Yeah, now we're much more efficient in terms of our delta V. Okay, and we're almost there. Fairly expensive burn as burns go. When you consider it cost only about that much to capture down to 2,000 kilometers, and nearly that again to go from 2,000 to 80 by 80. All right, and let's Then, yeah, we want to be about 80 by 80, I think. Okay, and come down to the prograde side and make back up our periselene again. Okay, that will do. That will definitely do. Now we just have to align the solar panels again. And 9 watts is plenty. So we'll just go ahead and accept that. So yes, we've placed another satellite in orbit around the moon. We have another one of these things building, which will do our final lunar orbital mission. And that one we'll try to remember to put in a polar orbit. So that we can actually get all the things. So let's head back to Space Center. And given that issue with KOS, I'm going to end this episode here. But for those watching live, I'll be back shortly. For those watching on YouTube, hopefully by the time this is up on YouTube, the next one will be as well. So, thanks everybody for watching. I hope it proved useful. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.